Today we are going to be talking about scaling. Having an understanding of scaling means that you are knowing if when you multiply your product will get bigger or smaller. Using the example 1/2 times 1/4, we already know with our fraction multiplication knowledge that our product is 1/8. Now I know what you are thinking. When we multiply, isn't the product supposed to get bigger? Well, that's what you learned when you multiply whole numbers. That is not always the case. Especially when you are multiplying by fractions, your product may get smaller. Let's look at an example so that you can see why your product gets smaller. Using 1/2 times 1/4, let's look at why we get 1/8. What we're saying when we say 1/2 times 1/4 is that we have 1/2 and we want to know what 1/4 of 1/2 equals to. Looking at this model, I have 1/2. The green represents my 1/2. I want to know what 1/4 of my green area equals to. So what I am doing is I am drawing in lines that split it into 4 equal parts. I went ahead and added in the lines on the other side so you could see why my numerator becomes 8. As you can see, it is split into 8 equal parts. Let's look back at 1/2 times 1/4. All I want to know with this example is the value of this piece right here, 1/4. And with that, we see why it equals 1/8. Now that you have seen an example, let's talk through the steps a little bit. Step 1. First, you must compare the given numbers. The given numbers are the two factors that you are multiplying together. If you are multiplying a given number by a fraction less than 1, the product will be less than the given number. If you are multiplying a given number by a fraction greater than 1, the product will be greater than the given number. If you are multiplying a given number by a fraction equal to 1, the product will be equal to the given number. That was a lot of information. Let's look at an example to see what I'm talking about. Using the example 12 times 3/8, 12 is the given number, 3/8 is the fraction. Is my fraction 3/8 less than, greater than, or equal to 1? Yes, 3/8 is less than 1. Therefore, our product should also be less than 12, because 12 is our given number. In our next step, you have to convert each whole number or mixed number to an improper fraction. This is where we are about to solve our multiplication problem. With this example, we only have one whole number to convert, and we must convert 12 to 12 wholes. Therefore, our new multiplication problem is 12 wholes times 3/8. Next, we must multiply our numerators. This is where it gets really easy. With our example, we must multiply 12 times 3, which gives us a numerator of 36. After we multiply the numerators, we have to multiply the denominators. With our example, we multiply 1 times 8, which gives us a denominator of 8 and a product of 36/8. After we get our product, we have to write our product in simplest form. We had a product of 36/8, which equals 4 and 4/8, and when we simplify that, we have 4 and 1/2. Now let's take a look back. When we solved this, we said 12 times 3/4 equals 4 and 4/8, which equals 4 and 1/2. At the very beginning, we made a prediction that 12 times 3/4 would be less than 12. What we can do here is we can take our final product of 4 and 1/2 and replace our multiplication problem of 12 times 3/4 to see if we are correct. When we do that, we see that 4 and 1/2 is less than 12. Therefore, our rule from the beginning is true. Now that was a lot of information. Let's look at some general rules for scaling. First, if both factors are greater than 1, you know that the product will be greater than 1. Here's an example to show that. 1 and 1/2 times 2 and 2/3 equals 24/6, which simplifies to 4. The number 4 is greater than 1 and 1/2, and 4 is also greater than 2 and 2/3. Another rule is that if only one factor is greater than 1, the product will be less than the greatest factor and greater than the least factor. In this example, 4 and 1/4 times 2/3, only one factor is greater than 1. The product from this is 34/12, which simplifies to 2 and 10/12, which simplifies even more to 2 and 5/6. As you can see, 2 and 5/6 is less than the greatest factor, which is 4 and 1/4, but also greater than the least factor. 2 and 5/6 is greater than 2/3. Our last basic rule is that if both factors are less than 1, the entire product will be less than 1. In the example of 3/4 times 1/3, we see that both factors are less than 1. The product equals 3/12, which simplifies to 1/4, which is less than 3/4, and 1/4 is also less than 1/3. I know that that is a lot of information, but I know that if you think about it, it will all make sense. You did it! Now that you have the information for scaling, you should be able to look at any multiplication problem and predict whether the product will get greater, whether it will get smaller, or if it will stay the same. Now we are going to do some more practice problems to see how you are doing.